It is time. Hello there, everybody. This is CwapTheNintendin here, and welcome to another rendition of Platinum Impressions. Today, we're going to be talking about the so-called last in the Metal Gear Solid series. Well, so-called last because, obviously, we honestly knew there was going to be more Metal Gear Solids, but this is probably the last in the timeline. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots for the PS3, which I beat in 2 days. I'm a fast guy. Here we are, Guns of the Patriots, aka the movie that you play. I was sort of avoiding the general opinion on MGS4 because I wanted to experience it for myself. But the thing was, maybe like one or two of my friends said that this game was bad, and I was just like, okay. I didn't really understand it. I haven't even seen any gameplay or any story content, except for the fact that Snake was old people, and everyone else was young people. Plus, I felt like I was a little bit worried about this one, because I've heard it all. Metal Gear Solid 4 is a movie, too many cutscenes and all that. But no one ever talks about the actual video game. I can't really blame them now that I played all the way through. But at the same time, I feel like the actual video game is worth mentioning. But that would be getting ahead of myself. Let's tear through that brief premise plot thing first. And of course, as a warning to all, this game expects you to have played the first 3 Metal Gear Solids, or at the very least Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, since those came before Guns of the Patriots. So, just be warned, like Kingdom Hearts 2, you're going to be in for a continuity trip. So, just to get you caught up on what happened last time in Metal Gear Solid 2's events, the Tanker incident and the Big Shell incident happened. Liquid Snake is controlling Ocelot's body and mind through an arm. No questions. Snake and Raiden go their separate ways, with Snake going to look for Olga's kid, and Raiden will eventually do so off screen anyway, and Raiden reunites with Rose, only to say, "Bye, bitch," and leave because of his past. And Campbell and Rose are free from the Patriots, I guess, with the said Patriots being established as the ultimate entity of the Metal Gear Solid series, or at least the Metal Gear series. Fast forward to 2014. The world has gotten worse because Kojima predicted it would be so. The war economy exists in the major nations of the world to fuel Liquid Ocelot's outer heaven. Which, that's what we're calling him now, we'll just roll with it. And it's all because of the PMCs, the private military companies, funding and supporting everything war-related, and them being stationed nearly everywhere. And it's all because of the Sons of the Patriot systems, or the SOP system, which was implemented and I guess re-implemented after GW was totally destroyed in Sons of Liberty, but whatever. We see Snake at a graveyard giving respects to an unknown person, and oh my god, he's old, people. He's old. Otacon arrives at the scene via chopper with Roy Campbell inside and tells Snake that the reason for his rapid aging is unknown. But you know Snake, he was never normal to begin with. Because of him being a clone, he ages rapidly. Funny how that now the rapid aging begins with, but no questions will be asked. Yet. Snake and Otacon board the chopper, and Campbell tells him that they have found where Liquid's hiding out. The Middle East. Of course, this is only before playing Act 1 out of 5, and 6 being the ending, so I'll basically make this short. Basically, Snake dons his sneaking suit one more time to discover Liquid's true intentions and finally finish him off once and for all, along with the assistance of not only Otacon and Campbell, and to an extent Naomi, Hunter, who also returns from, Metal Gear Solid 1, but also along with the allies of Meryl and her own Foxhound squad. And I just said Otacon and Rosemary on support, Rose, because Rose exists. And that was summarizing the premise of MGS4 in the simplest way that I could think about, because, oh my god. Yeah, like, just before I go back to the script, I'm gonna go off script a bit here. Honestly, it was really, really difficult trying to think of the right words to describe, my feelings about MGS4's story, or how to summarize it up without, giving away potential major spoilers. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is still going to be slight spoilers here for those who don't care and just want to move on, but I'll just say, it was really, really hard to think of the right words to describe my feelings, so let's move on. I say holy crap because, well, I think it's pretty obvious that Guns of the Patriots is a sequel to a sequel to a sequel that most people started their Metal Gear journey on. Guns of the Patriots expects you to have played MGS1, Sons of Liberty, and to an extent, Snake Eater, to totally understand what the hell's even happening, because the continuity is a total wash. Don't even think about starting the Metal Gear games with MGS4, because you're going to get so confused. It's kind of sort of like the same deal with Kingdom Hearts 2, except in this case, people aren't likely to just skip out an entry and be completely lost. I mean, technically you could just skip Snake Eater and go to Guns of the Patriots from Sons of Liberty, because that's technically next in the timeline. But that's just it. There are Snake Eater elements here that you're going to get kind of sort of lost on, or not really familiarize yourself with. And that way, the Snake Eater elements won't have as much of an impact on you if you skipped out on Snake Eater. So, there you go. If this just so happens to be your first Metal Gear game, there's nothing like an MGS1 and Sons of Liberty that will help you understand what's going on. There's no previous operations or anything like that. And it's really not just the continuity that's the big issue. It's just that some of the characters kind of drag down the story for me. Now, I won't even go over all of them, but a select few are worth noting. First of all, Naomi Hunter, like I said before, is back from MGS1, and she is first seen on Liquid Ocelot's side. And I guess it's most likely that she's working undercover for the good guys. She also develops feelings for Otacon, and the vice versa happens, along with newcomer Sunny, which I'll get to later. While she herself isn't really that offensive of a character, the problem that I do have with her is the fact that she dies in Act 4 as sort of a heroic sacrifice type thing. It's just that, well, in this game, well, here's the thing. I like her in MGS1. I mean, of course, she's a terrible liar, but the resolution she comes to is really, really good, and I like her for that. In this game, though, very little is established in terms of Naomi's relationships and motives that make us care for her death. She shares a total of one scene, between Sunny and Otacon, and her motives for doing what she does are completely unclear to us until she explains it in a video she recorded to be viewed after her death. I mean, don't get me wrong. What I do with games with a strong plot is that I immerse myself into their world, just to immerse myself in the story. But, thinking about it later, it doesn't really make much sense in the long run that she had to die. I mean, she couldn't have died, and that wouldn't have changed anything, to be perfectly honest. It probably just gives the excuse for Otacon to say, "Why does everyone I love die?" But it really is true, though. And Vamp is there from MGS2, and she and, Vamp have sort of a connection because, she briefly explained that, oh, I indirectly am responsible for Vamp, so therefore he has to die. And that's about it. And Vamp was kind of unneeded, to be honest. I mean, it's cool to hear Phil Lamar again, but why is Vamp there? So, remember Johnny, that running gag in the Metal Gear Solid series with poop jokes? It's actually kind of the funniest in Snake Eater now that I think about it, because you could get like a certain cutscene when Naked Snake is in jail, and Johnny just goes ahead and explains stuff. It's actually really funny. Anyway, he's a supporting character. He's finally brought into the foreground of the plot, and he went from 0 out of 10 in Act 1 and 2 and the beginning of Act 3 to like 8 out of 10 because he actually became relatively cool. But why the 8 out of 10? Because he and Meryl tied the knot in the end, because, well, I guess Kojima wanted something happy to happen to her, and they just fall in love on the spot after Act 3 ends. Or at least during Act 3's end. Even though her and Snake would have been more compatible, but hey, what are you gonna do? It's a thing that happens. I mean, it was very clearly established in Metal Gear Solid 1 that she got training to be resistant to men, and by the end of Metal Gear Solid 1's good ending, her and Snake go off into the sunset, and presumably, I guess that was the end of that. But, you know, whatever, her and Johnny get married, and I guess it's her dream to become a bride, not a soldier. Eh. Raiden also comes back, rocking a cyborg ninja suit, and he actually became cool and not lame. I mean, he's out of commission for pretty much half of the game from his first appearance in Act 2, but it's nice to see him in a new light. Sort of. I mean, I guess he gets some sort of resolution that I can agree with. I mean, he and Rose reunite, and they have a kid, and they have the kid together, and, you know, they're all happy. Until I guess in Metal Gear Rising, where he says, "Bye, bitch," and goes off to cut Metal Gears in half. I guess. Finally, we have a newcomer character in the form of Sunny, the child of Olga who was born during Sons of Liberty. She's a computer genius, precious when she tells Snake smoking kills, and an expert at providing egg symbolism. Yeah, throughout the game, her egg cooking skills go from burnt eggs to being perfectly sunny side up eggs. Get it? Get it? As an act of symbolizing the game's turn of events. First of all, I have so many questions, Kojima. Egg symbolism? Egg symbolism. Okay, I guess that's its workload of mine. Okay. I'm gonna say this in defense of Sunny. There's actually a lot of potential for Sunny to be well developed here. She and Otacon have a lot in common since they're seen together so commonly during the mission briefings. They're centered around technology, and her genius from the expositions is amazing. Plus, both of them are sort of introverted. Well, Sunny being more introverted than Otacon because she has sort of a speaking problem that gets sort of resolved at the end of the game. So, when do we see the genius? When do we see all the things that the game told us that Sunny could do? Never. Basically, my major problem with Sunny's appearance is that most of what Sunny does for the plot is told to us, not shown. Kojima likes to pull us into a movie experience, right? That's what he aimed to do in Metal Gear Solid 1, to make it seem more like a movie than a video game. Which the video game part is still fantastic, but it's more like a movie. I mean, don't forget, he wanted to be a film director, and he's using movies to make his visions come to reality. So, why not show a little bit of Sunny's computer genius, like when she encrypts data for a mission, or when she hacks into stuff with all that crazy computer typing she does, or, you know, anything like that. It's like I said, there's potential to make her really interesting, but I just guess it wasn't even meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. That's... Okay, I don't hate Sunny, but I just wish she was... But she just sort of comes off as underwhelming, if that makes sense. Plus, like, remember how I said about, you know, Naomi and, you know, Sunny having sort of a relationship in, like, one cutscene or two? Well, it's just sort of that whole moment when she says, when, you know, one of them says, "Tell Sunny the eggs are perfect." It just sort of comes off as meh. Okay. Honestly, when it comes to just, you know, how the plot and theming is structured, I have no problem with it whatsoever. It's just that some of the major characters either come off as really underwhelming or just unneeded and unnecessary. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a few characters that I like to see have a happy end. Like, Raiden gets a happy end. Snakes gets a resolution, I guess, with him just basically living out the rest of his days. But, you know, just the majority of the plot important characters or symbolic characters don't really leave enough of an impact to make it really, really effective, I guess. Also, get ready for a whole lot of exposition, because I swear that's all this game is. Like 80% of the dialogue is just filled with exposition as to how everything in the current situation works, like the SOP system and basically all of the cutscenes in Act 3. just get ready to pay attention and get completely out of it, because basically by the end, I didn't really get it, but the ending was really awesome. But hey, the Solid Snake story ended just right, and that's what Kojima wanted, so I suppose that's just what it is. So yeah, my biggest gripes with MGS4 really come down to certain characters not really leaving much of an impact on anything to make those, dramatic moments, needed. But one thing that I didn't actually really write about is Liquid Ocelot. He's basically my favorite character. He's having so much fun just being his bad dude. And at the end of Act 3, he unleashes his, Guns of the Patriots weapon, and he just has a lot of fun with it, just going on, yeah, bang, 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 bang. That's what I found really funny and really cool. He can be very, very entertaining. So, there you go. Just make all the important characters like that, please. So yeah, MGS4 might not have much of an impact when it comes to, how the plot and theme is structured. But when it comes down to the actual video game, on the other hand, Metal Gear Solid 4 basically takes what Snake Eater did and streamlines it for the better. There's no more survival viewer, which means no more constantly needing to pause the game to do things with camouflage and health. I mean, you can still recover health naturally, but Snake also has regular healing items doing what they normally do, like the rations and the noodles and the like. And as for the camouflage, Snake's been outfitted with Otacon's new Octo Camo technology. Just stand still and Snake's clothes change to the environment where he's currently standing. It's very well done, and it easily makes up for what MGS3 did with the survival viewer. It can actually also make the camouflage aspect really, really broken, because I swear there were certain spots where you could totally make yourself nearly invisible, 95% camo. It's just so good. It's so good. Face camo is also a thing that you can do, and it gives you plenty of options to do with fun stuff. There's Otacon, there's Raiden, and you can even unlock MGS2 and MGS1 Snake. Act 4 plus MGS1 Snake equals profit. Of course, there are going to be those instances where you'll be forced into the action, from car chases to boss fights, and you'll need weapons. That's where the new Drebin shop comes into play. You see, there's this character Drebin, who Snake eats during Act 1, and he explains about his line of work in the war economy as a gun launderer. There's all sorts of Drebins in the world, and what they do is they remove the ID tagging off of the weapons so that the Patriots won't have a way of tracking any person with the weapon. It's not just in story that he's useful in, and honestly, he's one of my more favorite characters, I guess. I don't know, I like his magic tricks. But in the actual video game, he actually is very, very useful. Whenever you pick up weapons that you already own, you can earn Drebin points, or DP. And with that DP, you can spend it all on weapons, weapon accessories, and all the ammo that you need. This system is really great, even though you basically have to work your way to the big DP numbers if you want the weapons that deal a whole lot of damage. I make sure to make use of this system whenever I can, because while taking out the enemy with loads of tranquilizers is satisfying enough for me to sneak around, you're also going to need the weaponry for each of the boss encounters. More on that in a little bit, because trust me, I have a lot to say on that. Stamina returns in the form of the Psych Gauge. Snake is getting older, so his psyche must be kept in check. The less psyche you have, the worse you'll do, pretty much just like stamina would. So managing health and stress levels are very important, pretty much just like the health and stamina mechanic in Snake Eater. Let your body rest, don't move, and stay in the shade, and your health and psyche will go up and max in no time. Honestly, much faster than Snake Eater, if I'm going to be frank here. It also helps to listen to the psychological advice from Rose, who returns from Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty as Snake's counselor from the codec. Which, I'm going to be completely honest, Rose may not have much bearing on the plot, but I feel like a counselor is more fitting to her rather than, the constant reminding of freaking April 30th. God, I hate that. I want her as my therapist, man. She actually really gives out some really good advice, like stuff that you will learn from health class, and I really like that. And there's also a little bit of an Easter egg that you can do. Basically die or kill yourself and then talk to Rose once you respawn. And, she'll give advice on, how to deal with the fact that Solid Snake keeps seeing himself dying and coming back. Maybe Undertale took some inspiration from that. Who knows? You also have an actual legitimate iPod for listening to music, which is actually pretty damn amazing because it's weird that Apple would have product placement in MGS4. But honestly, that also means that I can just ignore the music and just listen to the sounds of war while anime music from Kojima's other titles plays in the background. It's just so damn good. You can listen to a podcast, you can listen to other themes from the Metal Gear Solid series, and again, you can listen to some other tracks from Kojima's other works like Zone of the Enders, I think maybe Police Knots maybe, and stuff. Yeah. Plus, the iPod feature really makes all of Act 3, except for the car chase, bearable. Act 3 wasn't fun. At all. Well, not only because it was just basically loaded with exposition and a lot of movie, but you would have to tail a person just constantly making things really, really slow and all that, and I didn't really like that at all. But in my opinion, I think Act 4 and its contents, plus the final hours of Metal Gear Solid 4, easily make up for Act 3, because, oh my god. Oh yeah, and there's also CQC. CQC is also back too, and it's still just as effective in stealth here as it was in Snake Eater, so that's good. I guess with old Snake you can learn CQC. Why didn't Metal Gear Solid 2 Snake do that? I don't know. But what I do know is that Guns of the Patriots can also be a more action-oriented game if you allow it to be. You can play the classic way of sneaking around everywhere, or you can get yourself a good weapon, equip a suppressor, and just basically kill everyone in the area in order to get by. And there's also, third-person aiming involved too, making aiming incredibly easy. That's probably why there's more action sequences this time around, but I still don't think it's a bad thing when you can just sneak around everyone. You have your own way of playing, and the way I play it is just by sneaking around everywhere like you normally do. The boss fights are always something that I look forward to in the Metal Gear Solid series, and this one seems to be of no exception. We had the Sons of Big Boss in MGS1, the Sons of Liberty in Sons of Liberty, and the Cobra unit, the best one. And now we have the B&B Corps, or the Beauty and the Beast Corps, roaming around the world and causing trouble and stuff. 4 of them have been ID'd, and that's who Snake must take down. The Snake Hound unit, which honestly is a dumb name, consisting of Laughing Octopus, Raging Raven, Crying Wolf, and Screaming Mantis. That sounds familiar. Anywho, I really was looking forward to these guys because boss fights were something I always looked forward to. But unfortunately, my hopes were pretty much dashed. Okay, Laughing Octopus wasn't bad, she was manageable. And I'll give points to Screaming Mantis for being creative, just like, Psycho Mantis was. But Raging Raven and Crying Wolf took way too long for me to defeat. Plus, Raging Raven actively aggravated me, I guess that was the whole point, but it still made me mad, for almost killing me, and I barely had any ammo or DP to buy more, powerful weapons to deal with her more quickly. And, that's really, really saying something, considering that boss fights in Persona games sometimes take well over a half hour to beat. The boss fights, okay, with the sole exception of a few, basically the B&B Corps, well, with the exception of Screaming Mantis, weren't really that fun to fight at all. They really weren't. It's they were there for the sake of, being boss fights, I guess. I mean, that's sort of the same case with, Snake Eater, except, in Snake Eater, the boss fights all had varying personalities, and they were really, really fun. It's just that here, it's basically kind of like the same formula that with each of the B&B Corps. You get spookied by them, and then you have to battle them, and then they transform into a woman, and then you have to kill the woman, and then Drebin calls you and tells you their backstory, which, I'm going to be perfectly honest, like, Crying Wolf was really the only one I was, relatively interested in reading the backstory of. But, traumatized by war and all that, and yada yada yada. That's basically all that was. Also, I really hate to press the point about my minor grievances with Snake Eater, but this game came out in 2008, and y'all know what that meant. Brown! Everywhere was brown. Everywhere. At least in Snake Eater, I think it made sense. I can overlook it, because maybe the brown and everywhere made it seem like an old movie from the 60s, and maybe that was the intention. But Metal Gear Solid 4 could have used some more palette options. I mean, just saying. It could have used more color. I don't like brown. Honestly, when it comes to saying what I think about Metal Gear Solid 4, it's really difficult for me to place my total opinion on it. I mean, on the one hand, they managed to make the gameplay from Snake Eater and made it better. Like, this is really, really good gameplay stuff that we have here. They took out the bad things from Snake Eater and melded in with the classic elements with all the good stuff. You're still on a sort of a journey. I mean, since it's basically broken up into acts, it's more like a mini adventure in each act rather than, just one continuous journey. But, there's still plenty of variety. Plus, the game still has its quirky humor and Easter eggs, even in such a serious environment, for better or worse. But it's just that with the amount of cutscenes and the plot content you have to absorb, some of them going over 30 minutes, yeah, trust me, there was like nearly 40 minutes of cutscene between Act 2 and Act 3. Really? Before you even get to like 10 to 20 minutes of video game? I honestly would have to say, you just really gotta push through to the end with this one. Plus, again, it's like I said, Guns of the Patriots wasn't designed to be someone's first Metal Gear game. It was designed to be the last entry in the Solid Snake story. So, anyone who's going to start off with Guns of the Patriots are going to be left with so many questions. I mean, if you do want to play this first, then go right ahead, I won't stop you. But you're just going to miss out on all the stuff, especially like the stuff in Act 4, which I can probably imagine was really, really nostalgic for a lot of people. I'm just going to say that without, giving too much away. But, for the rest of us who have played these games growing up or just getting into the series, Guns of the Patriots does have a satisfying video game inside. It's just that you have to sit through a whole bunch of movie just to get to the good stuff. And a whole bunch of, some unimportant characters who are supposed to be important. So, there's that, if that makes any sense. I guess what I have to say on my Metal Gear Solid totem pole, I mean, I like all these games, I really do. Each of them I feel like has its own merits. But honestly, I do kind of sort of agree with the vast majority when I looked it up. Metal Gear Solid 4 is definitely the weakest in terms of my Metal Gear Solid totem pole because of the cutscene length and, important characters being underwhelming. But in the end, this was what Kojima wanted to develop. So whether or not you like what you'll see is entirely up to you. So I suggest if you have played every other Metal Gear Solid up to this point, proceed with caution for this one. You may like it, you may not like it, but at least you'll play it and experience something that's more than a video game. Either way, I'm done with Metal Gear Solid for a while. Yeah, because I literally beat Snake Eater days before MGS4, and I beat MGS4 within 2 days. So, the amount of MGS4 that I had to take in just sort of left me feeling burnt out of the series at this point in time, so there you are. But when I return to the series, there's still other Metal Gear Solid games for me to tackle. I'm going to start with Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, whatever that means. Ghost Babel on the Game Boy Color, Peace Walker from the HD version, of course, and then finally, I'm going to finish off my Metal Gear journey with Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Screw portable ops in the acid games, I don't want them. Because no one has a PSP anymore. So, with all that said, those are my thoughts on Guns of the Patriots, I guess. So, with that, I will see you guys on the next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.